Welcome everyone to the Mail Fuzz TV News Podcast. I am Peter, and joining me as always is Connor.
Yes, just about made it.
Yes, with your, are you intentionally sort of shaping your ginger beard so that it's, the goatee's like quite long? Is that what you're going for these days?
It's just kind of gotten a bit longer, and I've kind of just left it, and I've gone with it.
You're still trimming the sides though, so it's accentuating the the metal sort of beard that you go.
Yeah, a little bit.
But yes, welcome everyone. This is a TV podcast. We get together, we talk about pilots, cancellations, renewals, all that sort of stuff, and just see what generally was going on in the TV world. And there is a reasonable amount of things this week.
Stuff.
There's it's not actually stuff that's all interesting to us, but there's definitely some earth-shattering shifts.
Have I seen these?
Oh, it's earth-shattering.
I don't know if it has completely passed me by because it's not necessarily of interest to us, or if you're wildly exaggerating the word earth-shattering.
Oh, it's earth-shattering. You'll be shaken to your core when we get to a certain story on here. Shaken to your core. So we'll get into everything. I'll just say Last of Us aired early this week because of the Super Bowl. It aired on Friday, so my review for episode 5 is already up. So just in case you didn't realize it was already out, you can go watch Last of Us episode 5.
I haven't watched episode 4 yet. People might be able to tell by all the boxes behind me. I'm in the process of moving.
Oh really? I thought you were in the process of just hoarding fries.
Honestly, there are worse things you could do in life. Fries are good. Everyone agrees on that.
Sure, yes.
But it's meant that I haven't actually got anywhere to sit in the living room right now because there's just boxes kind of everywhere. And I kind of want to watch it on the big TV. I don't want to watch it on the... I mean, okay, my monitor is respectable enough, don't get me wrong, and it's larger than most people's monitors is.
32 inches, I assume?
Yeah. Which is still larger than average. But, I've got a nice fancy, OLED TV out in the other room. Why would I not want to watch it on that?
Yeah. I'm watching everything on my monitor just now because my TV died. So... That
sucks.
Yeah. So I'm just kind of slumming it for a bit.
Yeah, but see, no, if you got no other choice, it's like, this is what you got, right? But when you've got the better option, 10 feet in the other direction.
Yeah. Oh, well. Let's get into the news, shall we? There's plenty to talk about. Much smaller list of renewals and cancellations this week, though. I guess to finish with that heavy season where everything's been renewed or cancelled over a couple of week period. So, starting off, The Peripheral has been renewed for season 2 at Amazon. This is the Lisa Joy show starring Chloe Grace Moretz, which launched in October. It kind of
one adapted from something, right?
I mean, you could say that.
I mean, no, but like the author was someone notable, like in the.
Oh, sure, yeah, but I mean, I feel like you could probably say that about anything that's made these days, and you'd probably be right. But this
was more of a classic, I think.
Yeah,
like classic author anyway.
But this is the Lisa Joy show. I never actually saw this one. It kind of snuck out. And I think it was right around when I was away for a week, so it just kind of like passed me by. But this is getting a season 2 at Amazon, so good stuff.
Yeah, I didn't hear a lot of necessarily good things by it.
I didn't hear a lot of bad things. I just didn't hear a lot about it in general, to be honest. I didn't just hear any buzz.
Okay, it's a William Gibson novel, who's like one of the founders of cyberpunk as a genre, so that's why I kind of recognize, someone notable.
Okay. And then also interesting save here. So last week we talked about Uncoupled being cancelled by Netflix after 1 season. Showtime have swooped in and picked it up for a season 2.
Okay, sure.
So once upon a time we had Netflix saving all these cancelled shows. Now we have other people saving Netflix cancelled shows.
Everyone else gets to be the good guy and hey, look at those scummy bastards cancelling your favorite shows.
Charging for password sharing, putting their prices up, all that sort of nonsense. So we all saw the cat do it. We all saw the cat in the background.
See, the problem with the boxes is they don't quite fit in the gap there to have 2 rows, and the door there's not enough space for him to open the door on his own anymore.
I see.
So I have to actually pay attention now.
And then our one cancellation this week is Avenue 5 at HBO after 2 seasons has been cancelled.
That one sucks a little bit. I was really looking forward to actually checking that out at some point because an Iannucci comedy, and everything I heard about it sounded great. People seem to love it.
But notably, you didn't yet, and maybe that didn't help.
That's because, I mean, one, full well, my viewings would have no impact whatsoever on HBO's decision.
It might. Maybe Sky would be like, here's more money.
No, they wouldn't. No, they just would not. That's just a fact, and you know it. And two, I barely have the time to watch anything now.
Okay. So it's all that cat parenting that's going on.
Yeah, I spend loads of time doing that. I definitely don't just like throw out a bowl of food once a day. Be like, there you
go. Once a day, that's a bit the cruel side.
Well, no, okay, no. He gets fed twice a day. I just don't do the other one because Paige does it while I'm at work.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'm not a monster. I'm not starving him.
Wouldn't put it past you.
I mean, if I thought I could get away with it.
So into premiere dates then. We got one for a Netflix show called The Night Agent. This is coming on March 23rd. I've got a description here just to sort of remind everyone what else this is. So this is created and showrun by Sean Ryan. Notably from The Shield, but also SWAT. I didn't know he also did that, but okay. This is a 10-episode drama, and it's about a low-level FBI agent who works in the basement of the White House, manning the emergency hotline for American spies that never rings. Then a call comes in from a terrified civilian, Rose Larkin. Peter must protect Rose and work with her to uncover the fast-moving and dangerous conspiracy that ultimately leads all the way to the Oval Office and threatens the country.
Wasn't Bryce Larkin the name of the spy roommate in Chuck?
That sounds familiar. Yeah, actually, why?
Well, just a weird coincidence, isn't it? Larkin being, a spy-related thing again.
I guess.
It just triggered something in my brain.
If it was both names, I'd give it to you, but I don't know. It's
sure.
And then moving on to some general things. A little turnaround here is Warner Brothers Discovery has apparently now ditched their plans to split HBO Max, to merge HBO Max and Discovery Plus together. They're still going to offer Discovery Plus at least on its own because they've decided, insiders confirmed, their strategic shift, and they confirmed this with Deadline, is initially reported by the Wall Street Journal. The Wall Street Journal cited unidentified people familiar with the decision, saying they felt that Discovery Plus subscribers would balk at paying a higher price for a combined service. So basically, yeah, everyone said that. Everyone's. I mean, most people were looking at it from the other direction, that HBO Max people wouldn't want to also pay extra just to get Discovery stuff if they weren't interested in that. But it's true the other way around too. If you're someone who just cares about Discovery content,
I will understand it coming from this direction in the sense that I think HBO Max has a broader appeal already than Discovery. Discovery is a very niche thing, right? Whereas HBO Max covers a lot. There's a reasonable chance that people who watch HBO Max things might watch one thing on Discovery, right? There's enough of a chance you can kind of upsell that, whereas Discovery is really niche that it's harder to go in the other direction.
Yeah, I guess.
And also on top of that, I assume they're paying less to begin with than HBO.
Oh yeah, I would assume
price increase.
I would assume that. Yeah, that part's probably definitely true. I will say that I don't know if Discovery is as niche as you think it is, just in that it's not really, like, for a long time it's not been the documentary channel anymore. It's more of a reality TV channel.
It is, but that's still a specific niche in itself.
Sure, but I think it's a broader appeal than maybe what you would think if it was actually just, it's kind of like if like National Geographic is still very much documentary focused, and that's just rolled into Disney Plus. I think if it was like that, it would be even more niche, and I'd understand why. If someone just cares about their nature documentaries, why they're like, why am I paying for the next season of Last of Us all of a sudden with my subscription? I don't care about this.
I like how you couldn't think of a HBO Max original show off your head. So you went to regular HBO?
No. I could. I thought of like 3, but they've already been cancelled.
They've been cancelled, yeah.
I thought of Titans, I thought of Doom Patrol, I thought of Raised by Wolves even, which I only watched 1 episode of, but they've all been cancelled.
Raised by Wolves was the first thing I went to because also, one, it was very expensive looking. So when we're talking about paying for more seasons, I'm like, yeah, that's the one you're paying for.
Yes, so Yeah. I mean, does this mean that HBO Max will also still have a standalone option? That's hard to say. They can probably get away with that one a bit more because it's only maybe a couple of dollars of increase, and relatively speaking, it's still most of the content that was being paid for. That said, though, the way they've been dumping content, the value proposition is still very much a question that's worth having, but not so much because of the addition of Discovery and the increase for that. I think it's more of a discussion of like everything else they're taking away that's the problem. But anywho, so that's that, worth mentioning. So here's the earth-shattering news.
Oh, that wasn't the earth-shattering news.
No. Here's the earth-shattering news.
Oh, shake me.
Yellowstone.
Oh, no, I actually did see this. This was truly earth-shattering to the point where it infiltrated my news feeds.
Well, I mean, it's earth-shattering if you care about Yellowstone, I suppose. And we don't, but we like talking about Yellowstone. We do,
really.
So, yeah, the big thing here is that it's looking like Kevin Costner, who's the star of the main show, the main Yellowstone show, not any of the spin-offs, but the main show,
Yellowstone Prime.
He's going to be leaving, and it looks like there'll be a sequel series probably starring Matthew McConaughey, who feels perfect to continue the Yellowstone universe.
If you're going to pick one high-profile actor to go, that's where we're going with, it's going to be McConaughey.
What's funny is I saw this headline earlier in the week, and I just assumed, they've done like 6 seasons or whatever. He's maybe like just ready to leave, and they're just planning their next step. But when I actually read it, there was a little bit more juice to it. So it sounds like Costner's been a little difficult with the productions, and that he used to do something like 65 weeks of shooting for a season, and he did 50 weeks of shooting for the first half of this, because the season's been split in two. So he did the first half of the season, and it said, sorry, not 50 weeks, 50 days. That makes more sense.
I was going to say, this is a long time.
That's a long shoot. 50 days is what I meant. And apparently for the second half of the season, he wanted to cut it down to 1 week, which is a pretty significant decrease in time.
For the lead principal actor of your show.
Yeah, apparently...
Or approximately, I'm going to say roughly 8 hours of content. I'm guessing it's two halves of 8.
Yeah, it'll be 8 or 10. Maybe 10 on Paramount Plus, I'm not sure. But... he's apparently directing a movie right now, and he's more interested in doing that. He's doing a Western epic called Horizon. Nothing to do with robot dinosaurs, as far as I know. And he's doing that at Warner Bros. A New Line right now. And apparently Sheridan, who runs the show, has apparently been frustrated with this, like, trying to move around the schedule and trying to, like, take away his time and things like that. So... Paramount and so are refusing to comment on any of this right now, but this is the scuttlebutt, is that Costner's being troublesome with his schedule and how much time he wants to commit to it, so they're just kind of mapping their way out into the Matthew McConaughey. And they even mention here that this sequel season, or sequel show, is expected to take a lot of the names from the main show that already exists, so it kind of does sound like they're just replacing the main character, but they're going to like maybe rebrand it slightly to make it feel like a fresh start.
Change the focus slightly to justify it.
Yeah,
I think not in their defense, but I think something that will work for them is that they've already established it as a Yellowstone cinematic universe, the Yellowstone saga, if you will.
Yeah.
That we've got multiple shows already. If it ends after 5 or 6, maybe they get one more, 6 seasons, whatever it's going to be, and then launch a new show that is a sequel show. I don't think that'll feel weird to the audience. That's already...
Not at this point, no.
Yeah, they've already established, hey, we jump around the timeline, we do prequel shows, we've got spin-offs. Having a sequel show, I think, it's kind of, not so long ago would have been kind of weird as a way of just essentially recasting your lead. But now I think with what they've done with their Yellowstone brand, can probably pull it off.
They've straight up got a shared universe. They've straight up got a shared universe. Let's not call it anything else.
They got Harrison Ford in the shared universe.
Yeah, and his one's getting a second season, so they're even getting him back for another one.
Yeah. So... there was a... I don't know... Okay, potential spoilers for the Harrison Ford prequel one. I don't know. Again, unverified. So I'm saying potentially because if they are true spoilers, but I saw a lot of talk as it was airing about his character maybe dying.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe he's not back then. Maybe he's dead before the second season.
Yeah, maybe. But I don't know.
You still have Helen Mirren, presumably, though, so that's still a big name.
She is a big name, undeniably, yeah. And Kevin Costner's not exactly a small name already in his own right. And then
Oh no, he's not. No.
If you're throwing in Matthew McConaughey as well now in the future, that's you're rivaling your MCU in name recognition at this point.
It's a very different cast, though, isn't it? It's like
a very specific niche of a type of typecast of your people, but all big names in that field.
Yeah, so. And they spend a lot of time in a field, I think, in the show.
I would not be surprised.
My imagination of what this show is anything to go by. I
kind of want to watch it, but also because I kind of want to watch it because I like Sheridan's other works that I've seen, and it sounds like I would enjoy it. But I also want to never ever watch a single minute of this show, just so my imagination cannot be sullied.
Yes. So. Yeah, so that's the thing. Costner is maybe being difficult about how much time he wants to give to actually shoot his role in the show, and that's creating some conflicts, and maybe it looks like they're just... I think when I said they didn't get a comment from the studio or from the network, they did confirm that they're working on a new show with Matthew McConaughey, but they didn't want to discuss as to how it relates to the Costner show and anything like that. So
okay, so... There is definitely a McConaughey-led show in the Yellowstone saga.
And given he's a big enough name, it makes sense that he's kind of maybe going to be the new central figure. So I think it's effectively just going to be another season of the main show, especially since they're bringing over some of, if not all of the other cast. It's just a case of...
It'll just be Yellowstone, all right.
Well, I mean, the other spin-offs have just been years. They haven't even had Yellowstone in the title, so they might even... I mean... But if they want to make it the new flagship, maybe they'll keep Yellowstone in there.
I think they kind of have to for it to be the flagship title.
They'll follow Star Trek. They'll do Yellowstone: The Next Generation. I don't know if McConaughey is young enough to really be the next generation compared to Costner. He is younger, but I don't know if he's young enough to be the next generation of younger. But
yeah, how similar are their ages? It can't be that wildly different, right?
I mean, I think Costner must be in his mid to late 60s by now, and I'll guess that McConaughey's in his early 50s. That's my guess.
Okay, Costner is 68.
Oh, late 60s. Nailed it.
53.
Oh!
15 years. I'd say 15 years counts as a generation.
From a culture perspective, okay, I'll give it to you.
How long is a generation?
Oh, don't start getting the semantics. Surely that's a very...
It did not help.
Yeah, I've got a feeling that's a very debated thing.
Yeah.
But fair enough. Different generations, but only just. I feel like when you talk about the next generation, you usually think at least old enough to be the other one's parent, just in the context of a TV moving forward.
It is, but I also
in terms of Star Trek, it was more than that. They could be the grandkids of the...
It is in terms of that sense, but also like you say, culturally, it's a lot. Sure, I work with people who are 8-9 years younger than me.
Oh yeah, I would say a decade's enough to feel
absolutely alien to me.
Yeah. The culture sort of element of it feels like a decade at a time, I would say, because you all of a sudden these young kids are into TikTok and don't even know what a DVD player is.
That's it, because there's people who are 5 years younger than me who it's oh no, I get everything is fine with that, and then there's people 7 years younger than me who it's a different world entirely. It's crazy.
There is definitely times where it shifts more though, because we've got a few years between us, and I wouldn't say we feel like we're from different generations.
We've only got 5 years between us.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I say the people who are 5 years, my difference at work is nothing.
But
it's only when you get to 7, 8, 9 that I start feeling there.
Okay, yeah, but do you think I would feel the same leap for people who you don't feel a problem with that are a few years younger than you?
Probably not, actually.
Yeah,
you're right. So I think there's a shift in terms of when it is as opposed to the time.
I think there's sort of not full shifts, but there's a sort of harder shift compared to normal, where culture changes a little bit for whatever reason. But no, it's interesting. Anyway, that's the Yellowstone news.
Joe, I am shattered.
All right, so we got comedies here. The headline for this is definitely the fact that there's a new Fawlty Towers coming, with John Cleese and his daughter working on it 40 years plus after the second season of the original Fawlty Towers.
Yeah, which I'm assuming this means nothing to most of our audience because how much this made it to Americans.
Yeah, it's probably niche in America. I think it did make it a little bit because it's because it's John Cleese. It's got a bit of a connection to Monty Python. I think your comedy hipsters in the US of a certain age will appreciate Fawlty Towers, but a younger audience probably not. For sure.
Yeah, I don't think it has probably the same cultural sway that here everyone just knows what it is.
I mean, I'm not sure how young people are now, but certainly when I was growing up, because it was in the 70s, so I was way before my time. But it was still playing in TV enough growing up that I still knew it. I still saw all the episodes. There's only 12 of them for a start, so it's not like there's a lot to catch up on.
Yeah, exactly. It's very good. John Cleese is kind of as of recently, kind of a shitty person from kind of every comment he makes. Yes, I assume this is part of your story.
Well, I mean, it's notable that when he was doing interviews talking about this, he was given the interview to GB News, which is the UK equivalent to Fox News.
Yeah, and he's actively saying that it won't be on the BBC like the original was, because he's like, they won't let us get away with the stuff we want to do. We want to offend. We might say things that offend some people, and BBC won't let us, even though.
Although he did say in his interview with GB News, again, put some asterisks on that, but he did say, quote unquote, it won't be an anti-woke nightmare, was his wording.
Yeah. So, I hope not, because
I don't know.
I still like, again, I don't think he's aged particularly well with his opinions.
I think he's an old, out-of-touch comedian who, like, I don't know if he was always leaning to the right or whatever, but like he definitely feels like he is in his old age now.
Yes. But I'm not gonna let that stop me enjoying Monty Python.
Yeah, but that's ancient now, though, so it doesn't really matter. But but I mean, apparently, who was the other one? Was it Gilliam who had some dodgy opinions a couple of years ago?
I think it might have been.
Yeah. So I don't know. You either die the hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. So, I'm not excited for this because I just don't expect it to be good because it's been too long.
But also, I'm incredibly curious to see.
Yeah, it's going to be set in the Caribbean. That's where the hotel is, and he's never met his daughter before, so it's like a long lost, daughter he never knew he had kind of plot. But yeah, he's playing Basil Fawlty, and there you go. You're muted. You just better mute. Oh, he's getting so angry. For the audio listeners at home, he's looking very angry right now, and he's mouthing to himself. Well, he may not be mouthing to him. He may actually be yelling out loud for all I know, but it looks like he's mouthing to himself. Oh, wait, no, he's not. Okay, he's technical. Oh, he's tapping it. It's not working. There's some highly technical expertise get into the fixing of this microphone right now. He also gave me a bit of sign language there, which I think means checking the cable at the back. This is riveting stuff. This is if Basil Fawlty did any audio work in the hotel, this would probably be what it would go like. I have to imagine. All by myself. Don't wanna be all by myself. I don't know the rest of the lyrics to the song. As funny as it would be to keep going. Oh no, he's I heard something there.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, there we go.
How? All the things I did to fix it, nothing worked, and then nothing, and it just comes back on.
Don't touch that.
I'm trying not to. The problem is the bit where I usually have where the mic's plugged into, the bit where the other end of the cable is, and all the power fiddly buttons are, is usually propped up on a nice stack of books so that I can reach it. Those books have been packed in one of those boxes behind me, so it's kind of awkward for me to get to when something like that happens now.
Anyway, I think we're done talking about Fawlty Towers anyway. Probably won't be good, but hey. It's a thing. It exists. Everything can come back. Even the thing that was like long applauded for knowing when to just leave it and never do any more. So you've got 12 perfect episodes and you never have to worry about it. Now, admittedly, I'm not saying that those episodes haven't aged a bit. They might have. Some of the humor might be quite dated. It's been a long time since I watched them.
Yeah.
But
I'm pretty sure, was it Fawlty Towers that definitely had like one or two of the episodes kind of pulled from online or reruns or whatever they did?
I can't remember.
No, me either. But I feel like it might have done because of something no longer appropriate.
Yeah.
And you know,
I'm not even sure what type of not appropriate you're talking about, but it wouldn't surprise me if one of them popped up.
I know, but that's the thing. I don't want to say because I don't remember any specific details, so I don't want to say, oh, it did this, when that would be a wild accusation.
Yeah. So moving on, NBC is given a pilot order to St. Denis Medical, a half-hour mockumentary-style workplace comedy from Superstore and American Auto duo of Justin Spitzer and Eric Legend. So written by those pair, St. Denis Medical is a mockumentary about underfunded, understaffed Oregon hospital where the dedicated doctors and nurses try their best to treat patients while maintaining their own sanity. Hey, that's personal and professional.
That is, I saw it coming. I will drink, but before I do, comments on the show. This will immediately be the best medical show on TV right now, I'm pretty sure, by nature of it being a mockumentary instead of
probably
medical drama.
Well, I heard people say good things about Superstore. I never watched it.
I did too. I've seen about 10 minutes of an episode because Paige was watching it one night and I just happened to catch the tail end. It was on before something that she was watching and it was just like, so it was there. I thought that it was perfectly good what I saw. It's hard to judge. It was the back half of 10 minutes of a random episode with no context. So it's not fair to me to say, oh, well, it didn't live up to expectations based on that. But I mean, it seemed fine.
Yeah.
I can see why people liked it. Now, what am I drinking tonight? I'm trying to find if I've got any bottles that are running low so I can not have to move them.
I mean, you're ginger, so probably the souls of children.
Ooh. Okay, let's get something, not super nice, but a bit nicer than what I normally drink for this, just because the bottle's running low. Like, if I can finish this in the next week, then I don't have to move this bottle with me.
Yeah, I think you knew about the Yellowstone news because you were wearing denim. Seems to fit with the Yellowstone world.
Pure coincidence. It just happened to be I was wearing my denim shirt today.
So yeah, there you go. That's St. Denis Medical. Could be good. I mean, like they definitely overdid the mockumentary style sitcom in the 2000s and 2010s because The Office was a big hit. And hell, even Parks and Rec I think is even better than The Office also did it. But it has been a while now, I feel, since we've had one of those. So maybe it'll feel fresh again.
Maybe, yeah.
I don't know. Also NBC, they're developing The Regal, which is a workplace comedy from writer Brad Copeland from Life in Pieces and Kevin Hart's Heartbeat in Universal Television. So it says come. I don't think Kevin Hart's necessarily in to do with it though.
The Regal has to be a hotel, right? This has to be a hotel comedy.
The Regal is a workplace comedy about a Las Vegas casino.
Hey, most of the casinos are attached to hotels. They have hotels above them.
The biggest and craziest office in the world. The series follows the employees who overcome their different perspectives and personalities to become the one thing that you can't win at a slot machine. Family.
It's actually a Fast and Furious spin-off.
It's about slot machines and taking in the money. No, it's about family.
Vin Diesel's definitely behind this show.
Oh dear. I feel like that skirted the line quite a bit there, but I don't think it falls into personal and professional, even though it uses a lot of the words that would become
It didn't quite hit the format.
No.
Yeah. It was close at points, but
yeah, okay.
I was so convincing when you got to the end there that you were going to say, "Oh, the one thing you can't win." I thought I was going to say friends. Not family. You had to go that one extra step to make it funnier.
Okay, next up, The Good Place creator Mike Schur has reunited with Ted Danson, because I worked with him in The Good Place, of course, to work on The Mole Agent, a new serialized comedy which has hit the premium streaming marketplace. It's partly a heated bidding war for this. It's based on a 2020 Chilean documentary called The Mole Agent, same name, and it comes from Schur's longtime studio home, Universal Television. So written by Schur, the mole agent would star Ted Danson as an older man hired by a PI to go undercover at a nursing home. There's a little bit on the documentary here. In the original documentary, PI Romulo hires an elderly man, Sergio, to go undercover in a nursing home in El Monte, Chile, to investigate a claim by the PI's client that her mother had been mistreated by staff. While at the home, the man forges relationships with residents and learns their secrets. Honestly, this didn't need to be based on like a true thing from a documentary, and I would have still thought the premise was fine, but it actually makes it a little interesting that it's actually based on like a real thing where someone went undercover at a nursing home.
Comedies, right?
Yes, it's comedy. Yeah, this is.
Yeah,
I can see Ted Danson like getting to know a bunch of crazy old people and that being funny.
I can as well. Just obviously, you could take that premise and it could be either or very easily.
Oh yeah. Do you know what it made me think of? It made me think of Happy Gilmore, because Ben Stiller in that movie is like this horrible guy at a nursing home that mistreats all the patients. So I'm imagining angry mustache Ben Stiller mistreating Adam Sandler's grandmother.
That meets Undercover Boss.
Yes, there you go. So that sounds fine. Good Place obviously is a good show. I've still not watched the last season, admittedly, but
I've still only watched like half the first season, but it's objectively good.
Yeah. So no, good stuff. So we have a little animated slot here as well. There's 2 animated news stories.
My favorite kind.
First up, Wytches, the Scott Snyder and Jock comic, has been greenlit as an animated series at Amazon Prime. They've ordered an adaptation from Plan B Entertainment, Project 51 Studios, and Amazon Studios. Wytches tells the story of a 17-year-old sailor, Rooks. I put a pause in there as if she was a sailor. Her name's Sailor, just to be that clear. 17-year-old Sailor Rooks, whose family moves to a remote New England town after a tragic accident, only to discover that a burrow of monsters, ancient creatures that prey on the darkest fears and desires, I mean, that's what a monster is, yes, thanks for that description, lurks beneath the town. Obviously, it's a really broad description, ultimately, but...
The real question is, will the animation keep the big, massive colour splotches?
I would hope so, otherwise why are you doing it animated?
Yeah.
Because I'll be honest, when I read this was animated, I went, honestly, I would be more interested to see them try to pull this off live action and try and get that atmosphere in the show.
I agree. I suspect this is coming from them looking at something like Invincible, which has done very well for them.
Oh, possibly, yeah.
And kind of being like, oh, we can. There's clearly a market for adult animation, and we know that anyway from the comedy side of things. But that this taps into more. Okay, that was still pretty funny, admittedly, but like, okay, it's that comic book based stuff. This kind of is, another step in that direction that I'm wondering maybe if that's where they're coming from.
I would have definitely been a bit more excited if it was live action, but I mean, it is interesting, and apparently because it's animated, I think Snyder and Jock are getting a bit more say in it, and they're getting to have a bit more control over it, so that's maybe the benefit.
Maybe it's incentive for them to give us some more damn Wytches.
That's the thing, I read like the first 3 issues, but then it started getting delayed, and I don't even know how many issues came out.
6.
6, okay. Good to know.
We had 6-issue trade, and I think there was, I don't know if it's come out yet or if it's coming out soon, there was like a part of one of the Image anthologies.
Oh yeah, they did like a one-shot.
A new story, one-shot in that world. And they've been teasing that there's going to be more coming as well at some point.
Well, because I think when it started, everyone assumed, it's going to be like American Vampire and get a nice 30-40 issue run, and then it just disappeared like very quickly. It was a bit weird. So, but hopefully it's good. It was like the first couple issues were great. I'll say that much.
I read the full trade. I really enjoyed it. I would absolutely read more if it launched right now.
Yeah. Next up, we're back to Matthew McConaughey, because he has been cast to voice the lead character. It will be obvious who the lead character is when I say the title. The title of this is Agent Elvis.
Oh, God, yes.
It's an adult.
Perfect casting.
It's an adult animated series about the king himself. McConaughey will also executive produce the series, which comes from Priscilla Presley and John Eddy, Sony Pictures Animation, blah 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 blah. So co-created by Priscilla Presley and John Eddy. In Agent Elvis, Elvis Presley trades in his jumpsuit for a jetpack when he is covertly inducted into a secret government spy program to battle the dark forces that threaten the country he loves, all while holding down his day job as the king of rock and roll.
It even gave me personal and professional. I had everything I wanted in a story. Stupid premise, perfect casting, personal and professional.
Like, I'm just saying, this sounds neat and all, but you've got a lot to live up to, because Bubba Hotep, where he fights a mummy and played by Bruce Campbell, is fantastic. So
that is fantastic. I'm not disputing that at all, because it is. But this way we get both, so we all win.
Oh, sure. I'm just saying, it's kind of funny how there's now like a subgenre of Elvis doing something in a different genre as like a subgenre.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, it is kind of amusing. But
yeah. But yes, Agent Elvis.
I'm pretty sure there's a lot of comics as well.
Oh yeah, probably.
Of Elvis doing crazy shit.
Oh yeah. So that's your animated block, and we can go into the dramas. So what's interesting about the dramas, the first one up, is that I said I was a little less interested because Wytches was animated and not live action. This is the opposite. And in that I am more interested because I would have expected this to be animated, but it's actually live action, and that makes it more interesting. So there's technically not a title yet, but there's an obvious title to use until they give it something else, and that is Spider-Man Noir.
Oh yes, I did see this. That is an interesting thing to choose to adapt.
Yeah. So written and executive produced by Oren Uziel from The Lost City. Apologies if I butchered your name there. But the Untitled series follows an older, grizzled superhero in 1930s New York City. A source close to the project tells Deadline that the show is set in its own universe that involves an alternate Spider-Man character who is not Peter Parker, probably the grizzled hero that I just mentioned. So Uziel is developing the series with Academy Award-winning Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse producers Phil Lord and Chris Miller. So obviously the popularity of the Nicolas Cage version of that character in the movie probably had something to do with this. The Amazon project would be the first live-action depiction of Spider-Man Noir, the alternate version of Spider-Man who emerges in a version of New York City during the Great Depression. In the comics, the version of Peter Parker who's there, and they're saying it's not Peter Parker in this show, but the version of Peter Parker in the comics who's Spider-Man Noir is bitten by a spider that's inside a spider god idol that gives him powers. So think
very Indiana Jones style,
or even stuff. I was thinking even Maltese Falcon. Like it's like he's got like the Maltese Falcon, and then like the powers come from that. So I think the idea that they're doing this live action is fascinating.
I do as well. It's exciting because it's a ballsy choice. It's different, right?
Yeah.
This is not a safe superhero project.
Joe, what's so funny is that there was that time, and it was Amy Pascal who was involved, who's producing this as well, who is like, let's do an Aunt May origin movie, let's do all these weird like villain spin-offs. This is way more of an exciting and interesting choice to do like a weird Spider-Man project.
Yeah.
Way more interesting.
It's as you know, you were saying it's bold choice. It's still got the Spider-Man name attached to it, so it's going to get it's going to get
obviously, yeah.
But it is such a unusual thing to go, oh, that's what I'm going to make a show out of, but I can see it really working. I can see it being a potentially great TV show. I think, like I say, it was a alternate version of Peter Parker in the comics, and I think we as comic book readers are kind of okay with that because we're just used to Elseworlds, other tellings, whatever. I think for the sake of mass market, just adapting it to TV, changing it to a different name just makes things easier,
Yeah.
But I don't think it matters.
And I think because it is this alternate like world, they've got so much freedom to just they could do like noir versions of like all these villains if they want to, and
yeah, just go nuts with it.
And I don't even think that would be a bad idea, like just whatever. Like I can already see Black Cat in like, the noir set and being this like femme fatale.
You take Green Goblin, you take him from corporate businessman to mobster.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of things you can just transplant like into the setting.
Doc Ock maybe has like steampunk arms or something. I don't know if you do that necessarily, but
Doc Ock I think definitely has to have been a crazy World War I scientist.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, a mad scientist for sure. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of potential here, and I think it's such a there's very few Marvel TV shows I think you could announce that would make me go, ooh, I'm kind of into checking that out. But this actually is quite interesting. So
yeah, this is definitely one of very few things because it is so separate, random, just like this unique choice.
And even if it was still separate, but they announced it for Disney Plus, I'd be less excited. I think the fact that this is just like its own thing over at Amazon is more exciting to me.
It is a little bit, yeah.
So yes, there's a lot of Showtime news because Showtime, of course, are rebranding to Paramount Plus with Showtime. That's the official title they seem to be using.
That won't last.
No, that definitely will not.
They're really regretting spending that marketing budget on that Paramount Plus.
Unless they just settle on Paramount Plus, but they're just saying with like Paramount Plus with Showtime for a while, just to get people used to the idea that Paramount Plus is now just Showtime, and just sort of transitioning people over. But yeah, so we have 3 Dexter projects to talk about.
Yes, because the last one worked out so well.
Well, one of them's a season 2 to that, so yeah, it's done well for them.
No one seemed to like it.
Well, people watched it apparently.
They hate watching.
Do you know what's so weird about this story is that the headline read, "This thing's in development," right? And I'm like, okay, I can see why they're doing that. I don't like it. I'm cynical, whatever. But then when I read the opening paragraph, it just casually mentioned, along with 2 other projects. I went, wait a minute, what? And the one that was in the headlines, the one that's actually less confirmed. The other 2 are more locked in. So up first, this is the one that they're just developing. It's not like greenlit or anything yet. Is a prequel show about the Trinity Killer, who is the character that John Lithgow played in season 4. So a prequel about him.
Is that what the people were crying out for?
I guess so. And in the other projects, we have the new season of Dexter New Blood, which was the revival show.
Yep.
And it says it'll explore the themes and scenarios, but through a new lens. Probably his son, because he was in the show.
Season 2, yeah.
So fair enough. And then the other one is Dexter Origins, which is the most generic title you could probably give it. And it is a prequel about a young Dexter when he just sort of starting out as a young adult, and his father's still alive, although I presume not played by James Remar, because he'll be ancient by now.
Yeah. I don't think it works that way.
But it does mention he's going to meet a lot of younger versions of all the characters that are in the original show. So
what you're saying is this is prequel bait 101.
This is straight up just full on everything prequel-y, with different actors, as well as doing the continuing the sequel show, and maybe doing a prequel to Trinity Killer. So basically,
when Game of Thrones finished, and they were like, "We've got 5 spin-offs in the works," and everyone was like, "Yeah, hold up a second. We didn't necessarily all love the ending of that show. Maybe you should slow down." And all of a sudden now we only have 1 show, which worked out for them, don't get me wrong, but like, hey,
well, you're bringing up Game of Thrones. I think a more pertinent thing to bring up would be, once again, Yellowstone, because Paramount are the ones who do Yellowstone, and they've decided they want all of their things to be multiple shows and be a big shared universe. So they're doing it to Dexter. There's another one in a minute. Don't get me wrong. There's a third example. Rule of threes.
The real question though is, how is this somehow in the Yellowstone universe?
Hey, if Dexter starts hunting down characters in Yellowstone, I might be tempted to watch the crossover.
I think instead of finding a new name for Paramount, Paramount Plus with Showtime, just call it Yellowstone and Friends.
That's what you do. This Dexter New Blood season 2 should just be called Dexter Yellowstone, and just go wild with it. Why not?
Yes, please.
So yeah, so it mentions here for Dexter Origins, there's a little description that says, set in Miami, the series will begin as Dexter graduates college and joins Miami Metro. So it's not even like he's before he's joined the police. He's joining the police. That's the start of his career in the police force, and probably the start of him being like a full-on hunting down serial killers character. So it's just the same as the show, but just earlier.
I'm getting like they want to recapture Hannibal vibes, like the way that captured people.
I could see that. And his father's alive. That's the big selling point. That's the one big thing that makes it different, is that his dad's not dead yet.
So different. There's one character.
I know. I mean, Dexter got so bad. I watched too much of it as it was. I watched the first episode of the new one because it won the pilot vote, and it was like, I mean, it wasn't terrible, but it was just like, this is just the same again. It's just every season of Dexter's the exact same thing. He gets close to someone, they learn his secret that he hunts down serial killers, and then by the end of the season, they probably have to die because they turn villainous. 1 or 2 exceptions where they just left town instead and they weren't villains, but it was the same every season. One person learns and has to deal with accepting the fact that he's a serial killer. That was the same every season. It was rinse and repeat, and it got very repetitious.
Yep.
So I cannot endorse or give a shit about any more Dexter. So there you go.
Unless it's a Dexter Yellowstone crossover.
Maybe in that case I'll be mildly curious.
Yeah, you want to see it.
Mildly curious. No doubt I'll end up seeing the pilots for any of these shows that happen, because of the patrons will make me, but that's it. All right, so the other thing that Showtime want to milk and do lots of, have you heard of their show Billions?
Literally never.
Well,
am I about to hear about it every week for the next year?
I think I've heard of it. What I didn't know is it already has like a sequel series or a spin-off series on, because this was a Showtime show, and it's got a sequel series on is it Freevee? How I say was where the
was that the IMDb TV renamed?
That's what that became. Yeah. So they made like a sequel series that went to that.
The sign of quality content.
Yeah. Right. So anyway, so Chris McCarthy, who made it, Chris McCarthy, who has been speaking about a franchise strategy at Showtime since he took over the network a few months ago. The strategy will include expanding successful series into multiple spin-offs in the mold of Yellowstone. Right? And we just saw that with Dexter. Obviously, we're talking about Yellowstone still going strong with all of its spin-offs and whatnot. So there's 4 potential Billions spin-offs in the works. 4 of them.
Has anyone ever heard of this show? They're gonna throw 4 new shows at it.
So yes, from series co-creators Brian Koppelman and David Levin, Showtime would not confirm the plan, but McCarthy did in an interview with the Wall Street Journal, so he's just talking, he's running his mouth. Showtime aren't happy, probably. But he's revealed 4 projects that are all... Yeah, so here's the description of the 4 of them. So the first one is called Billions Miami. These are all working titles, by the way, for all these.
They're definitely going to end up just calling it Billions Miami.
Right. A new installment set in the world of private aviation where the clientele believe the rules of society, government, and gravity don't apply to them, amidst the wealth, nightlife, contraband, and cryptocurrency that pulses through that city. Koppelman and Levine are already writing the project.
The cryptocurrency was dead already. You're like a year too late on this one.
The second show in development is Billions London. And there's not much said about this. It just says another iteration set across the pond, operating in the world of UK finance.
I'm getting the sense that these are all the same show, just in a different set. This is the CSI formula. They're all the same show, just somewhere else.
Well, no, to be fair, the next 2 aren't Billions : location.
Okay. Are they a time?
No.
Billions, 1923.
You'll laugh when I say what the next one's called, though.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Millions.
Okay, I thought I was prepared. I wasn't.
Millions is a series featuring diverse 30-somethings financial mogul wannabes doing whatever it takes to make it in Manhattan. So they're not quite as filthy rich. They're still filthy rich, but they're just not astronomically filthy rich.
They took the show and just went, let's make it a little bit share.
These people, this group will be more relatable to all the struggling people out there who are, struggling in this economy. We'll just have millionaires instead of billionaires. Easy.
This is already my new favorite Showtime Paramount franchise.
Before someone gets snidey in the comments, I realize that the characters themselves aren't necessarily millionaires or billionaires. They're just working with other money because they work with money. I get it, right? It worked for the joke. Leave me alone. Right, so that's Millions. So there's one more show. Would you like to guess what the title of this show is?
No, nothing I guess will be as funny as what it actually is.
Trillions.
No, it's not. You're shitting me. You just made that up.
No.
Yes, you did.
No.
You made it up.
No.
This is a bit. None of this story is real.
Trillions is a drama based on fictional stories of the richest people in the world. Titans of industry living all over the country but coming into contact and conflict with one another.
I don't believe this is real. I need to Google this.
Yeah, it's real.
No.
Billions spin-offs at Paramount Plus / Showtime. That's a thing.
Oh my god, you're right. Millions and trillions. Oh my god, the main show's coming up to season 7.
You're like, what is this? All of a sudden, it's a whole universe. So keep in mind, there's already a spin-off. So this would be the third, fourth, fifth, and sixth show. Assuming they all happen, they may not all happen, but they seem pretty gung-ho about it.
What?
I suppose it only takes one of them to fail miserably before they say, "Oh, let's not do the rest." But we'll see.
This article that I just glanced at, just to confirm you were telling the truth.
Yes.
Just says, while it's unknown how long it will take for the billion shared universe to come to fruition, 4 upcoming spin-offs indicate Showtime wants the franchise to last for many years to come. It's likely that they wanted to, feature the same structure as AMC's The Walking Dead, with each series in the universe airing without overlapping. Production of yada 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 could mean that someday the Billions universe will air all year round. Isn't that the world we've been waiting for?
Oh, gold.
I'm sorry, move over, Yellowstone. You've got competition for the best franchise
See, when you reacted so strongly to the title of Millions, in my head I was like, oh, if you like that, he's going to love the next one.
I couldn't believe the audacity of it. They went so shitty and just went Millions. And then
I can't wait till the spoof spin-off, which is called Bajillions.
Like, where do you go with the spoofs?
Oh, dear. Okay.
That was good.
Moving on. Still with Showtime. They're developing just a single show that's not getting any spin-offs yet. So they're developing a straight-to-series... Oh, sorry, they've given a straight-to-series order, I should say, not developing. It's further than that. It's called The Department, also a working title. It's based on an acclaimed French espionage political thriller called The Bureau. So... pretty straightforward translation. Although I feel like people know what a bureau is, they can still call it that, but I guess it's just to differentiate it.
I think it's probably because the Bureau then has connotations specifically with the FBI.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah. So this is from George Clooney and Grant Heslov of Smokehouse Productions, MTV Entertainment, and 101 Studios. Clooney will direct the series, so he's not in it, but he's directing it, so...
that's still, notable.
Yeah. Created by Eric Rochant, I love how for the description, it doesn't say The Bureau, it says Le Bureau.
Le Bureau.
Le Bureau. It centers on the daily life and missions of agents within France's obviously this will all be swapped for US when the new show, yeah. But anyway, so it follows the daily life and missions of agents within France's principal external security service. It focuses on the Bureau of Legends, responsible for training and handling deep cover agents on long-term missions in areas with French interests. Living under false identities for years, these agents' missions are to identify and recruit good intelligence sources. So I can maybe see the idea that you're following people who are undercover, like the Americans, for a long time and waiting for them to
Do you follow the individuals like that, or do you follow the office of the Bureau, kind of dealing with setting up the identities, dealing with them coming out of various people, obviously.
Maybe both. Maybe you'll sort of one of our agents is about to become relevant, so we'll find out they've already been living somewhere for 5 years and they've got a whole cover.
We'll see a bit of that. Yeah,
I could see. I'm not thrilled at any of this, but it's the sort of thing that maybe if it is well directed and there's got a bit of meat to it.
Yeah, I don't know. Has Clooney done much directing work? I assume he has if he's getting the pull to kind of just do a show. I've not watched any of it, though.
He's directed at least a couple of movies.
That's not surprising, given who he is.
Yeah, I want to say he might have directed The Descendants, which he was in as well, and I think he maybe... Was it Good Night and Good Luck he did? I can't remember. But he's directed a couple of movies. That's that. Oh, God. This is not Showtime anymore, but the next story I've got here starts with this sentence: expanding TV universes is the hottest trend right now.
Oh God.
So I assume you have heard, probably not seen any of, but you've heard of Bosch.
Yes.
Yes, this is Amazon's. This is probably their first kind of long running show that actually survived for several seasons.
It got some mild awards, acclaim points, right?
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I was mixing something up with this story from before. Remember when I said Millions already had a spin-off on Freevee? That's this. That's not that. So it doesn't make the
no, Billions. Sorry,
Billions.
Don't you dare undersell the Billions universe.
So Billions doesn't already have a spin-off. Billions has the one show and it's getting the 4 potential spin-offs.
from 0 to 5, 1 to 5.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry. I was like, honestly, the fact that there was like 3 stories with like slates of multiple spin-offs, I'm sorry I mixed 2 of them up, but this is the one that's already got a spin-off on Freevee, which makes more sense because it's Amazon, that are tied to that. But that's called Bosch Legacy. Is the second show that's on Freevee. Right.
Standard classic subtitle in that.
Yeah. So yeah, right. So this is based on the best-selling work of Michael Connolly, and they're developing 2 new shows in the Bosch universe at Amazon. The first one is the Untitled J. Edgar Project, which follows Harry Bosch's former partner, Detective Jerry Edgar, who is tapped for undercover FBI missions in Little Haiti, Miami. In this glamorous city, he is forced to balance his new life with the gritty underbelly of the city while being chased by his mysterious past. Mysterious past as well?
God damn it, that's a double drink.
That was the first one.
That's personal professional, isn't it? Balancing his new life.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, you're right, yeah. Balancing his new life. Absolutely. Yeah. Double drink for one of the Bosch spin-offs.
The Boschning hits.
Jamie Hector, who starred opposite Titus Welliver in the original Bosch series, is in talks to reprise his role in the offshoot as well.
This week's episode has really helped me get through this bottle.
So that's the first one. So that's a main character from Bosch who's getting his own show, right, in Miami. So it's kind of the Frasier treatment. He's moving to a new city. I assume it's a new city for him anyway, and he's going to get his own story there. So that's that. The second one is called, or right now it's the Untitled Renee Ballard Project. Centers around a character that has not appeared in any of the Bosch shows yet. Detective Renee Ballard, who is tasked with running the LAPD's new cold case division. Beyond simply investigating unsolved crimes, Renee is dedicated to bringing credibility to the department and justice to the community. Having learned from her retired ally and mentor Harry Bosch, so she's got a connection to the main character from the show.
Well, they have to somehow.
Renee does things her way, solving cases in unconventional ways while navigating the politics of being a woman on the rise in the LAPD. So, yeah. Everyone's into, I mean, and we know that Amazon, we just last week we were making fun of them for their Tomb Raider shared universe plans, so everyone wants to do this. Everyone's trying to do their shared...
Did no one learn from The Mummy?
Do you know the thing is,
did no one learn from Joss Whedon's Justice League?
The examples that worked in the past, bringing up Whedon, like Angel worked because it was like a natural thing. It was okay, we've got a show, we've got an idea for a second one. It wasn't like this start with like 5 shows. It was like a natural kind of, and same with Star Trek. It was like one show, then a sequel show many years later, and then they had an idea for Deep Space Nine. Maybe Voyager was pushing it a little bit because that started like quite early in Deep Space Nine's run, but for the most part, it was kind of a natural, follow-on, ideas came later kind of thing. It wasn't.
I think it's notable that it reached a point of oversaturation and kind of killed the franchise for a decade.
And it's funny that when they tried to bring on Star Trek back and said, we've got these number of shows that we're going to do, most of them have ended up being bad. Strange New Worlds was good, but, Discovery's been, it's been hit and miss. There's been some good moments, but...
Well, let's say mixed, to be fair, yeah.
And then Picard is just trash. Season 3 might be better, that's just a bit of start, but...
People like Lower Decks a lot, let's be fair to that as well.
Yeah, so there's a couple of bright spots, but by and large, this plan to just launch like 5 shows is very mixed at best, right? You get a really mixed bag of quality.
Do you know what I saw recently?
Oh God, what?
They're still claiming that Section 31 is a real show and they're going to make it. We swear we're going to make it.
They said that was coming like either during or before season 2 of Discovery, which was like 2018. It's been
before season 2, yeah.
It's been 5 years since they announced that.
Yeah, they're like, we swear it's coming. Someday we're going to make it.
We'll see.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Bosch is next online. Bosch gets a shared universe. So, don't get me wrong.
Why not?
2 is less cynical than 4, but it's still pretty cynical.
Yeah, but it's 2 on top of the 2 that already exist.
Yeah. Well, I think the main show's ended. I don't think the main show's continuing.
Okay, fair enough.
But I think the sequel or the spin-off on Freevee is still a thing.
Earlier when I was like, Yellowstone kind of aren't what they were doing by kind of spreading it out. It was all from one, like I think in the same way you talked about the Whedon stuff with Buffy and Angel.
Yeah, it was very natural.
do agree with. This was all okay. This was one creative kind of hey, I've got an idea.
Yes,
and I think this newest show that we talked about today is a little bit different, where it's just circumstances have kind of forced them into that. So it's like, okay, I'm kind of giving them a pass, because it's not like we really want to milk it and make more. It's just we got to work around, the reality of what's going on. So I'm kind of giving that a little bit of a pass, as opposed to just being like, here are 5 shows right now and you're going to like them all.
Yeah, it's also funny how Walking Dead did that late into it, because it got the one spin-off that came a few years into it, Fear the Walking Dead, which has had 7 seasons and is ending, but now it's doing like 3 or 4 new shows that are all just starting.
Well, what happened was, the main show was coming to an end, and AMC were like, shit, we've got nothing. Quick, get The Walking Dead out.
I mean, I was joking that they literally just split the cast up and they're in pairs for all these new shows. That's effectively what it is.
Yeah.
So, anyway, moving on. Ripley. Oh, we're back to Showtime with this one. So Ripley, it's not an alien thing, sadly, as much as you would hope it would be.
Talented Mr. Ripley?
It is actually, yeah. It's based on that same book. So it's an upcoming Showtime drama starring Andrew Scott, and it's got a new home at... This is so funny. So it was Showtime, and they decided... Well, they hadn't decided on this one yet. We've got another story after this that they had decided already, but because like they were kind of like saying, oh, these things that we've already made, we're not going to actually pick up in air, Netflix saved this. So just to clarify, earlier in the episode I said that Showtime picked up a cancelled Netflix show, right? Let me just confirm that was the case. I think that's what I said.
Yes.
Yes. Uncoupled.
Uncoupled. I knew it was on something.
Yeah. So here we have the opposite, where basically the creators of this show just went shopping because they kind of had a bad feeling, I guess. And as a result, it's now going to be on Netflix. There is one thing that makes this quite intriguing, though, is that the person behind this show is Steve Zalian. Do you remember that name?
I do not, I'll be honest.
He was the writer of The Night Of.
Okay.
Now you're interested.
I'm more interested. And Andrew Scott, that's he was Moriarty in the Sherlock show, right? The Cumberbatch one.
Oh, I don't know. Is that his name?
I'm fairly sure that's who that is. He's a good actor, if it is him.
So this is based on Patricia Highsmith's best-selling quintet of Tom Ripley novels. So apparently this relocation happened in the last few days, and they talk a little bit about how it was kind of this like last-minute thing. They mention the other thing that it happened to as well, but I'll that's the next story, so I'll just tell you about that in a minute. So this is an 8-episode show, based on primarily on the talented Mr. Ripley, but that makes it sound like maybe they take a few little things from the other novels.
Also, I suspect that's the only one most people have heard of.
Probably.
Myself included. I didn't know there was more than one.
Yeah, so it's designed as a limited series in the vein of The Night Of, but there is a possibility to go beyond the first installment, and that makes sense given those 3 other books. So
depending on how much of the other books they decide to splurge into this one.
Yeah, so Ripley follows Tom Ripley, played by Scott, a grifter scraping by in early 1960s New York, who is hired by a wealthy man to try and convince his vagabond son, Dickie Greenleaf, what a name, who is living a comfortable trust-funded expat life in Italy, to return home. Tom's acceptance of the job is the first step into a complex life of deceit, fraud, and murder. And then we also have, is that Dakota Fanning playing Marge Sherwood? So,
yeah, I mean, she's pretty good.
So yeah, they've got some names. They got a good writer behind it. I mean, I don't really care about I mean, I've never seen any of the movies or read the book or anything, but... Me
either. I'm just, familiar in passing. But
I think Matt Damon, one of his younger roles was talented Mr. Ripley.
Sounds familiar.
So yeah, so
it's one. This is again, we say, we're not necessarily overly interested in the premise, but there's good creative attached, so this might actually be really good.
Yeah. So that's cool. And then the other show from Showtime that's went elsewhere is 3 Women. So this was one that was officially kind of like canned after it was finished. Whereas I think I mentioned in the other story for Ripley that was just starting post-production, and they were making the choice to sort of shop around at that point. 3 Women was actually confirmed. Showtime said we're not going to air it, even though it was done, even though it's been shot and they're in whatever stage of post-production. But now Starz is negotiating to pick up. So this is adapted by Lisa Taddeo from her non-fiction bestseller of the same name. So the producers of 3 Women, which stars Shailene Woodley, Betty Gilpin, DeWanda Wise, and Gabrielle Creevy. So there's some names in there. Like, I recognize 3 of those names. And it's been quietly shopped around the completed first season after Showtime opted not to proceed with it. because they're making all their changes with Showtime and Paramount Plus.
But if it's completed, someone was always going to pick it up.
Yeah, especially with those names, it's such an easy thing to market. As long as it fits your brand, at least a little bit, I think it's a no-brainer. I mean, the only description here is, in 3 Women, a group of women are on a crash course to radically overturn their lives. Not much to go on. But the news here is more that it's been picked up after Showtime kind of just jettisoned it for whatever reason.
Said Stars, right?
Stars, yeah, as we're in talks.
Makes me a little bit less interested because I don't think the Stars brand necessarily really appeals. But
it's good that it's always shitty when something that's finished just doesn't get released.
Yeah. Release the Batgirl movie, you cowards.
I don't even think that'll be good, but they should still release it.
Yeah, but it can't be worse than what the Flash movie looks like.
Is it just me, or did the CG for Supergirl and Batman look really bad?
I think the okay, caveat that it might be the lighting in the scene. The Zod suit looks worse now than it did in Man of Steel.
Oh sure, but like Batman was jumping around and you just look a CG figure. I'm like, what? It looked trash.
Yeah,
I want to love the Flash. I love the Flash as a character. This movie looks like ass. Looks like ass. That's a good point. We get to talk about that in the comics podcast next week. That's good. something juicy to dig into. But yeah, so we'll move on then, shall we? That's 3 Women. HBO is developing a series adaptation of a non-fiction book called Empty Mansions about a wealthy recluse. So Warner Brothers is developing it with the ticket filmmaker Edo Fluke and Atonement and Darkest Hour director Joe Wright, who will direct the pilot if it gets picked up. The story follows Huguette Clark, an elderly, fabulously wealthy recluse who is hospitalized for a number of seemingly minor ailments, and a series of events that set into motion regarding her fortune and an unsigned will. So everyone wants the recluse's money or something, seemingly.
Yeah. Sounds like the setup to every murder mystery.
Yeah. Next up, we have Patricia Cornwell's K. Scarpetta book series are on their way to possibly being a TV show with Nicole Kidman in the title role and Jamie Lee Curtis in a supporting role. So that's big casting there.
That is notable names.
Yeah. So yeah, Kidman executive producing through her Blossom Films, and Curtis is producing through her Comet Pictures. Everyone's got their own production thing now. So
they have them for a while.
Yeah, but they keep mentioning new ones that I didn't know about. So there's just an infinite amount. Like they all have their own.
It's clearly just a way of
making more money.
A legal requirement as well. I'm assuming for them to have through a company, right? I assume there's some like guild requirements or something.
I don't know if it's. I mean, I'm sure you can still. I think it's more to do with getting money for being a producer, but to be a producer, they have to have a producer label, and I think
that's what I mean. Like they have to have it through a company.
I think it's nothing to do with their acting paycheck, but I think it's just so they get the double paycheck.
Yes,
and presumably more royalties if it does well.
I wonder if it's a legal thing or if it's a producers guild thing where it's like, hey, no, we established that these are the rules you follow. It has to be company as opposed to an individual. It
all comes down to just wanting to be get a second paid for it, basically.
100%.
Yeah.
And obviously there are some projects where you can tell it's someone who's very heavily involved. It's like, they're
passionate
coming at it
about
top
it.
down.
Yeah.
Where you go, okay, no, that's not just for the paycheck. You're actually producing that because that's your thing. But most of them, it's the money. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just here's an extra paycheck because you're also a producer. Yeah. So. Yeah, so it's apparently nearing a 2-season straight-to-series order at Prime. It's not happened quite yet, but that's what it's looking like it's going to get. So it's not even just a limited series, which is kind of impressive with that cast. So 2 8-episode seasons is the expectation. Kidman's character Kay Scarpetta is a brilliant forensic pathologist inspired by former Virginia Chief Medical Examiner Marcella Fernelli Fierro, who uses forensic technology to solve crimes. Curtis will play Kay's flightly sister Dorothy, who is the mother of Lucy Fernelli, who is a recurring character in the books. That's interesting that the niece character is named after the real person, which is probably just like a nod to her. But
nice little thing.
Yeah. So it's not a lot to go on premise wise, but obviously with those names, it's kind of hard to ignore it.
It'll definitely have high profile marketing, so we'll closer to the time we'll be able to get a firmer grasp on whether or not that's for us or not with trailers, because they'll be everywhere.
Yes. But the question is will there be a scene where Nicole Kidman goes to an AMC theater to watch a movie?
Maybe.
Do you even get that reference? You know what I'm talking about?
Off the top of my head, no.
All right, so I actually knew this before I visited and saw it for myself, but AMC theaters in the US, they've got this, like, ever since they came back from the pandemic and lockdown, they've had this ad where Nicole Kidman, like, walks into the movie theater and she's talking about the magic of movies, and she sits down and she's watching clips of different films, and she turns and says, AMC, we make movies better. And it's become kind of like a running, like, joke on the internet where there was like a TikTok video or something going around of a guy who stood up and saluted while Nicole Kidman was on screen.
I definitely saw that quote in this past week in regards to AMC's dynamic pricing.
Oh yeah. That's a bunch of bullshit, but that's another topic. But I saw it because I went to one when I was there, and I was like, oh, the Nicole Kidman thing, they're still playing it, so they've been playing that for a while.
Well, it's no Kevin Bacon.
It's been over a decade. Let it go. It's gone. It's not coming back. And the funny thing is, he still does ads for EE, the same company. They're just not tied to the movie chains anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, those days are long gone. I remember all the Orange Wednesdays ads. You know, those were a big part of the teenage
we've been
years.
Over this. Yeah. That's something, we were talking about the generational shift.
Oh, yeah. Just a few years younger
Orange
than us.
Wednesdays? Oh, no. They have no idea what you're talking about. That is like... you'll probably get this. Someone mentioned they had a car insurance with Sheila's Wheels.
Oh, yeah.
And I went, I didn't know you were a woman. As a joke, because that whole shtick at the time was they only sold car insurance to women, or maybe they didn't at first, but it was like significantly cheaper to women than it was to men.
Oh yeah, I remember the ads. I think
there was a whole song, right? And it was like three Aussie women in a pink car singing a song. It was like everywhere at the time. None of them knew what I was talking about. Not one of them. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah,
it was depressing.
But on the other end, you know what a coaxial cable is, so you've got.
I'm winning in life, really.
Yeah. So there you go. That's. I mean, there's no title specifically yet, but the book series is Kay Scarpetta is the character that the book series is all about. So I see them giving it.
Scarpetta.
They could call it that. I can also see them just coming up with a title that fits.
They could, maybe, depending on what the individual titles of the books are. Maybe one of them works nicely.
Everything can come back because Spartacus creator Stephen DeKnight is expanding the franchise with a new series in development at Starz. He's going to serve as showrunner and executive produce. It's untitled right now, but Starz sequel basically. And it actually just says here the next chapter will explore uncharted territory and new journeys of the original series' iconic characters. So it's just a revival series basically.
Yeah, this is a little bit more interesting in the sense that while this had 3 seasons, technically they were all standalone. Like at least one of them was a prequel season. So it being a sequel is somewhat notable. Like you say, yes, it's a revival, but it's a sequel series as opposed to another spin-off or prequel like it had already done. And
it only had 4 seasons or 3 seasons before, so it's not. So it's not like it's super oversaturated.
And I think they were pretty short seasons as well. Yeah. I'm sure one of them at least was on 6 episodes.
So in the aftermath of the defeat of Spartacus and his rebel army in the series finale, spoilers I guess, new drama.
Spoilers for history.
The new drama will depict a new tale of treachery, deceit, and blood unfolding beneath the foreboding shadow of Rome. So yeah, it's a sequel show.
It is shocking to me that I've never watched Spartacus, given that they're pretty into that genre of stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of nudity in it. That's the only thing I knew. When it was on, people talked about how everyone was doing full frontal on it. That's
was old school stars, though, right? That's kind of what they made the brand on.
So yeah. Next up, Ben Stiller is going to act in a new show called 3 Identical Strangers, a high-profile limited series that is
playing all 3.
It's doing the rounds. Technically, he's only playing 2, but more on that in a second. Stiller is in failed negotiations to headline and executive produce. He's producing again. Is a multi-decade family drama inspired by the incredible true story of identical triplet brothers separated at birth. The project comes from Party of 5 co-creator Amy Lippman and Sony Pictures Television, blah, blah, blah. Set in New York over several decades, the Identical Strangers tell story of Bobby, Shafran, David Kellman, and Eddie Galland, 3 complete strangers who inadvertently discover that they are identical triplets separated at birth. When 19-year-old's joyous reunion catapults them into international fame, it also sets a chain of extraordinary and disturbing events in motion. Oh, I didn't mention it in the description. So apparently, I assume this is not a spoiler because it mentioned it later in this article. I assume it came from the plot synopsis, but it didn't mention it. Stiller's playing the two living brothers, so presumably one of them doesn't make it to his age, and so he's just playing. So if there's younger actors,
there'll be a younger version. Yeah.
So if there's younger actors playing like early teens or whatever versions, then so he's playing two of them that make it to whatever age Ben Stiller is, like 55 or whatever. I don't know what he's now.
Yeah, he's not young anymore.
No, so yeah.
Okay. I think he's an actor that obviously has done a lot of shit.
Yes.
But I do not think he's a bad actor. I think he is very capable of doing great roles.
I do think he's a better director than as an actor, though, shockingly, which is...
I agree.
Yeah, interesting, but
I do think he, in the right role, he can be a great actor. And I think something like this fits his more serious side of being able to pull off an interesting role. And I think, having two roles to play.
I think what what I'm interested in here is that there's no indication from this if this is going to be comedic or if this is going to be more serious.
I can see it being comedic in the sense of, hey, look, this is weird. There's three of us, or two by the time it gets to him. But
I think there's a reason why I think his most memorable role is Meet the Parents, because I think he works as being the straight man surrounded by craziness than he is being the crazy guy himself. Don't get me wrong, I really like Dodgeball, right? And he's the villain in that, and he's really wacky, but he's not my favorite part of that movie. He's he works in the role well enough, but it's the premise of that movie that makes it work for me. So if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. Him being weird with his mustache is not the part that makes it work. It's fine, but it's just not the selling point.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same with Zoolander.
I've not even seen Zoolander.
Oh, honestly, I recommend it. I think it's pretty fun. I don't think it's the best movie ever, but it's worth a watch.
But did you see? But did you see Zoolander 2?
I did not, because I value my time. He says, sitting here doing this.
This is valuable time. What are you talking about?
I mean, compared to Zoolander 2, I just assume, yes.
Do you not remember the laughs we shared over billions and trillions and millions?
Let's not forget Billions London.
And Bosch, the Second Reckoning.
Yes, Bosching.
All right, next up, Tier 1 is this next show. It's a military thriller novel series. It's obviously been adapted to a TV show, otherwise why would we be talking about it? I'll just throw a random bit of book news in.
You might do, just to spice things up.
The book collection, which follows the adventures of an elite Navy SEAL, written by Brian Andrews and Jeff Willison, has been optioned by the Cross Brothers for a series adaptation. It's the latest book to be optioned from the Blackstone Publishing, an Oregon-based company that hired former Miramax executive Brendan Deenan, which this is all not even that important. So Tier 1, which features 6 published books. A new one, Dempsey, which is the name of it, is coming out in February, and an 8th is June 2024. So there's already 6 books done, 7th's about to come out, 8th is already planned. So it's doing well, apparently. So it follows John Dempsey, trained. They got to the 7th book before one was called his name. That's interesting.
Well, do they all follow him, or do they follow different characters? And this is just, it's only Dempsey that follows Dempsey.
The way it's phrased, so a new one, Dempsey's coming out in February 21st, and then an 8th June 2024 follows Dempsey. So at least those 2 follow him. In that phrasing.
Okay, yeah.
The other 6, maybe not. But anyway, it follows John Dempsey. Trained to fight as a Navy SEAL, groomed to think as a spy, Dempsey is more than a door kicker, more than a tactician, more than an assassin. He is the leader of America's most elite task force of special operators. Tier 1 is his story. So I assume it's all him. And the saga of the courageous men and women he serves with Outside the Wire, where every mission is denied and only the best of the best can persevere. This is the most generic sounding shit I have ever read.
So what I'm picturing right now is, are you vaguely at all familiar with Jack Reacher?
I watched the first episode of it.
Right. So you know how his past is that military stuff? I'm picturing this is Jack Reacher, but when he's still the military guy, as opposed to afterwards. That is exactly what this sounds like to me.
The best of the best of the best, sir.
Yeah.
That's a Men in Black reference for anyone who didn't get that. So on to our last story of the week. Final story. Netflix has given a series order to a show called The Madness, a conspiracy thriller starring Emmy winner Colman Domingo. The 8-episode limited series hails from Sheridan Entertainment via its first look with Netflix, and creator and co-showrunner Steven Bieber. And so in The Madness, media pundit Muncie Daniels must fight for his innocence and his life after he stumbles upon a murder deep in the Poconos woods. As the walls close in, Muncie strives to reconnect with his estranged family and his lost ideals in order to survive.
Of course he does.
It did bring up his family, I think that counts.
A strange family at that.
Yeah. So there you go. That's The Madness.
One last one.
Well, that's the last story. So yeah, other than a couple of the comedies, there was no network shows. No Fox, no CBS, no ABC, no NBC.
Oh, I think the comedies, they're all NBC, right? That we talked about for network-wise.
Network-wise, yeah. There was one for something else.
I know we had other ones, but specifically networks.
But yeah, I guess they're done ordering stuff for this season. But we've got the new shows in development that we'll hear about towards April and May time. So yeah.
Yeah, this is traditionally the quiet a couple of months, but that kind of got blown apart with streaming kind of just doing whatever the hell they want.
Yeah, it's all these shared universes that they're doing.
We need to know about the billions and the trillions and the millions and the Londons and the Miamis.
Yellowstone, Tomb Raider, Bosch, millions, billions, trillions. Yellowstone,
Londons and Miamis. Oh man, wait till they get to Yellowstone, London.
I love the idea that there's a Yellowstone London, a Billions London, a Tomb Raider London, and then they can do a crossover with just all the London shows, like sharing like an episode together. Because you know how there's that Chicago universe where there's like Chicago Fire, Chicago Cops, whatever. You're muted again, by the way. Well, we're wrapping up the show. It's a good time for it. This has been your TV news for the week. And just a little thing here. You'll notice at the start of the show I didn't say almost cancelled TV news. I mean, Connor's shaking his head. He didn't notice. The reason for that is the reason why we've moved away from that branding over time is because when we named the shows almost cancelled, when we named all the TV reviews almost cancelled, it was just meant to be a play on the idea that shows get cancelled and are on the bubble. But since we named everything that, like the word cancelled's got all these connotations now of being cancelled socially, and like the number of times people have said that they didn't click on something because they thought it was going to be like, you know, regular YouTube nut jobs talking about right wing shit. It just makes sense to move away from it. So, Male Fuzz TV News. That was your title. I thought Connor might be back online by the time I finished that. What was that?
That should be.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, here, you're here. Yeah.
Well, hey.
You went away again. You got one sentence. That was good. Oh well, that's been the show. Thank you very much for joining us, everyone. Let us know what you thought of the news stories in the comments below. You can like and subscribe, and of course you can support all the content. You can go to patreon.com/MaleFuzzTV and support us over there, and get some bonuses for your trouble, especially for all the movie shows we do over in Male Fuzz Movies. Check out all those podcasts. We review sci-fi movies on the Ace, horror movies on Screams After Midnight, and then movie franchises and like sort of batches of like different subgenres on the Collector's Cut. And of course, there's the TV reviews going out weekly on Male Fuzz TV to look at as well. So that's the show. Thank you very much for joining us. We do appreciate it. Keep watching TV. Have you got any vanilla?
Why are you not working?
Oh, now you're back.